Hi, and welcome to another episode of Monday Motivation brought to you by Dominate Your Day. I started Monday Motivation as a space for many episodes to share inspiring ideas and thoughts for leaders in the workplace. As a former corporate leader, I know what it feels like to just need a little boost of inspiration each week. So, in each episode, I will share a topic that can motivate or empower you. So today we are talking about powerful partnerships. It's February, it's the month of connecting, and we want to really focus on that, what that looks like in the workplace. So today we're going to talk about the power of listening. So have you ever noticed when we fully feel heard, it's like you truly feel heard and you feel understood, you feel appreciated, and you all of a sudden you just feel more connected to the listener. That's the power of listening. And it's our first key to building powerful partnerships. One of my favorite quotes, and I'm a quote collector, as I think about listening, and this is from Stephen Covey, and he says, the biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand, we listen to reply. And I know I've been guilty of that. Lots of times I'm listening to somebody and I'm thinking about what I'm going to say next instead of instead of listening intently. So I want to challenge you this week with how you can listen intently as you're listening to your coworkers, your partners, family members, friends. And one of the case studies that I like to talk about is a business case study, which was the partnership between Apple and IBM. So these were two powerhouses in the tech industry. And when they first decided to collaborate in 2014, people were skeptical due to their contrasting corporate cultures and competitive histories. However, they were able to leverage adaptive listening, which is listening to hear what the person is saying instead of responding, to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. And then they were able to align their goals and bridge their differences. The result in this powerhouse of partnership is that they were able to create a series of enterprise apps that combined IBM's big data capabilities with Apple's user-friendly designs. And what that did was that created new value for their customers and set a powerful example of beneficial collaboration. So think about who's out there in your world. They might be a competitor, they might be, if you're a coach, there might be another coach, or if it's a leader, you might have another leader that you haven't partnered up with in another department. And think about that. And what are some, as you think about attentive listening and what you can do to really listen and not listen to reply, but adapt your listening style. Think about how you can really make a conscious effort to listen in to your interactions this week. This is your challenge for the week. Just as you listen in, just think about what can you do differently. And then at the end of the day, take a moment to reflect on the interactions you had and identify one thing you learned from truly listening. This is kind of sounds easy, but it's hard. And then try to implement at least one piece of feedback or advice you received from your listening practice. So I don't know if you're in a partnership or have a husband or wife, but I think one of the things I do, and I know I've done with my husband, is I'll listen, but I really paid attention. So one of the things we tell each other is just look at me, I want to see your eyes, and I want to tell you something. And all of a sudden the listening starts happening. And that's one little clue we have for each other when we know we're not listening. So one of the things I like to do is give you some resources that I've had, books I'm reading, podcasts I'm listening to. One of the books I think that might be helpful it's called Just Listen, Discover the Secret to Getting Through to Absolutely Anyone, and that's by Mark Goldston. Also, Just Out by Nancy Duarte. She's one of my favorite people in the world. I love what she does with big data and telling stories with data. She's come out with a book called Adaptive Listening. And then I've got a podcast coming out called, it's called my podcast, Dominate Your Day, but it's called Lead with Questions. And we talk about, as a leader, how can you lead with questions that will precipitate people from really getting engaged and help them get engaged in the conversation instead of just asking questions that probably deem a yes or no answer. I also feel like episode 744, The Art of Charm, is also another good podcast to listen to. And that is something that I think will be powerful as well. So those are some resources. We'll put those in the in our notes, show notes, so that you can have those. And then before we wrap things up, I just would want to have a heart to heart with you. I would love you to help us. We know not everyone hits the follow button when they listen, but your support means the world to us. So by becoming a follower, you help us boost the podcast visibility and you bring even more amazing episodes to the future. So if you can do one thing for me today, just hit that follow button, give it a friendly tap. It's the easiest way to get updated whenever we drop fresh content. But if you're feeling extra generous, we'd love if you could also share the podcast with a buddy. It's kind of like spreading the love for great conversations. Thanks a million for tuning in and being a part of our podcast community. We can't wait to hear what you have to share with us and continue to connect with us. Have a great day.